Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Hey, Shalom. This is the brother Yachanan from the GMS Houston camp, and this is just a lesson, touching on a few current events and recently past events and linking them to scripture and prophecy. So, this has been a very busy year, and it's barely the third month. Here Babylon the Great, who's ruled over by Esau Edom, has threatened to take over countries, has taken over certain countries and kidnapped their leaders, and is going to war with yet another country. And as I speak, they're going to having more having more skirmishes around the world, in Ecuador and things like that. So this devil Esau Edom is using his sword. He's all over the world. He's all over the place. And just linking to the scripture, the man of sin is being revealed in these last days. And this is Esau Edom, who's the so-called white man who's ruling the world right now and who's losing his grip on this rulership. And he can't take it. He's been winning for so long, and he can't take losing. And just getting right into the scripture. So this is Genesis chapter 1 and verse 14. And the Most High said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years." So let me read that again. And the Most High said, as a matter of fact, that's Elohim. So it's not. And the Elohim, meaning the angels, the judges, said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon earth." And it was so. So this is speaking of what you see, the celestial bodies, the stars, the moon, the sun, which you have. These things are for different signs and wonders. So let's look at this word for sign, because recently, was it March 2nd and March 3rd, there was a blood moon eclipse, and that's a sign of the Lord's coming. A sign of the day of the Lord. The moon will turn into blood, and He will pour out His Spirit upon all flesh. So you're seeing all these nations having dreams of whether it be the MOTB, whether it be destruction, and most of all, the prophets, the Israelites, are waking up and prophesying, telling what's going on, making sense of all these people having dreams and what's happening, but this is H226 Awath, and it says, in the sense of appearing a signal, literally or figuratively, as a flag, beacon, a monument, an omen, evidence. So a mark, a miracle. So these different celestial wonders that you'll see, these are all signs, wonders. They have significance. It's not just, look at the solar eclipse of the sun. No, these things have, significance in the scriptures and here on the earth, in the heavens and on the earth. So the point of that was, I asked Google, says celestial events March 2026, and I could have said 2026, but just this month alone, this is only the fourth day. It says March 2026 features a spectacular lineup of celestial events, headlined by a total lunar eclipse, the blood moon, on March 3rd, a rare 6-planet alignment around March 1st through 2nd. So you had the planetary alignment, on the 1st and the 2nd, which I didn't get to see any of it. A lot of this stuff happens early, and I'm just barely waking up, as it passed. Like, the stuff happening like at maybe 2, 3 in the morning. So this happened in March 1st, and the second, the lunar eclipse happened the very next day, which was a full moon. So this is beautiful that these things happening. So it's a spring equinox on March 20th, and the Venus, Saturn, Neptune conjunction on March 7th and 8th, which I'm not sure what a conjunction is. It's lucky, sometimes you learn as you go. Bear with me, Salakia. It says a close triple conjunction of Venus, Saturn, and Neptune occurs in early March 2026, featuring a brilliant Venus passing Neptune on March 7th and Saturn on March 8th. These planets will appear very low on the western horizon shortly after sunset, with Venus and Saturn only 1 degree apart. So I'm not really sure what the March 7 through 8, a larger part of the larger 6-planet parade. Now, apparently the 6 of the planets just a lot. Okay, so this event is part of a larger 6-planet grand parade alignment involving Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune in late February, early March 2026. So this is still a part of that planetary alignment. So okay, but these are all signs, and these are signs in the heavens that are showing on the earth, and as well as the the things that are going on here on the earth. You have famines. You have shortages. You have war going on. All kinds of commotions. Political turmoil. The people in turmoil. Inflation happening. The people are miserable. So you have a lot of things going on here on the earth. This is Luke 21 and 25. And it says, and there shall be, and this is Yahushua speaking, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. And as a matter of fact, it says right here, the return of Yahushua, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars. So I just said that. I just went to the Google, the AI overview, showing the planetary alignment, the eclipse, all these things happening. And that's just this month. I haven't even looked at for the rest of the year. And upon the earth, distress of nations. Is that not happening? Are not the nations around the world distressed? You had last month or the month before, people in Greenland bugging out because of Babylon. You had the people in Iran, bugging out. They had, protests and whatnot. And then this week, they started bombing. There's a lot of things going on around the world. Pakistan and Afghanistan officially at war. There's a lot of events going on, and it gets difficult to keep track of everything. But just know that, matter of fact, what Yahushua also said here, because it's a lot of stuff that's going on, and it's going to be a lot of confusion, and in this confusion, it's going to be so much stuff going on that you're not going to be able to keep track of everything. It's just going to be the world going into mass confusion and violence. You're going to have World War III, which this is the beginning of it. Lord willing, I'll get to it. But this is Luke 12 and 49. And this is Yahushua speaking. I am come to send fire on the earth. Yahushua is not coming for peace. He's not coming, to give hugs and lollipops and whatever, or to, any of that. He's coming to bring fire. And what will I if it already be kindled? So he's coming. And when he gets here, chaos is already going to be going out. The fire is already going to be started by the time he gets here. So, and it's already going now. So, again, Luke 21 and 25, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. So, it's going to be all out chaos. And then eventually, the scriptures even say that the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. You know, it says the mountains are going to move, the isles are going to move out of their places. Like this whole earth is going to be shaken up. Skyscrapers falling. You know, these earthquake-proof skyscrapers that they built, these are going to collapse. Everything that you see here, you know, especially here in Babylon the Great, everything that you see here in Babylon the Great, America is going to be destroyed by ICBMs, coast to coast. So, verse 26, men's hearts failing them for fear, because this is a time like never before. This is the time of Jacob's trouble. I mean, you see it now, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to ramp up. You know, men invading one another's houses, you know, for the lack of bread. You know, robot dogs, you know, direct energy weapons, lasers, robots, cannibals, freaky Edomites running around, crazy ass 2/3 Jakes running around, concentration camps. Hey, all this stuff is gonna be out here, and a lot of people just gonna be dropping dead. It's gonna be so much dead bodies that there's not gonna be anybody to bury these people. So, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And that's everything. These higher ups, these elites, they're going to be shaken. They're going to be messed up. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. There's Revelation 8:1 and verse 7. The cloud being the chariot. 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. Yahushua is coming back. He's coming back to save his people. His people being the Israelites. And this is what makes a major separation between us Hebrew Israelites, other Israelite camps, Christians, and all these other false religions of the world. Because we're letting you know, starting with the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, what's really about to take place. The truth of the matter. That Yahushua is coming back on what the world calls UFOs, UAPs. That he's not coming back for everybody. He's only coming back to save his people. And not even all of his people. Only the elect of his people. Only the chosen of his people. And if those people that are chosen, guess what? They're going to be calling on the names of Yahweh, Yahushua. They're going to know what's going on. They're going to know the time that we're in. But again, and then shall they see, and they're going to be glad. The elect, those that they're the only ones that are going to be glad to see Yahushua. And when these things, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. So when these things are already starting, you're seeing signs and wonders. You know, signs in the heavens, these distressing nations around the world in turmoil, the earth getting weak through Esau's rulership, wickedness abounding. You have false prophets that were once, you know, teaching the truth, now selling out the truth and promoting you know, everybody can make it Christian type teaching. You know, all this is in the scriptures, showing the end times. Let's see. You can continue reading that, but it said here in the last part, it says, and when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. So redemption, let's look at that. G629, apolytrosis, and it says releasing, affected by payment of ransom, and Yahushua paid our ransom. He paid to redeem us with his blood. You know, he released us from our transgressions. He's the one that did all this with his blood. He didn't do it for all the world. He did this for Israel. Liberation procured by the payment of a ransom. Deliverance. I'm gonna go here because you might see, oh, he's coming. Look, your redemption draweth nigh, but he's coming for a specific people. So Luke 1 and verse 68, blessed be the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. And how did he do that? By sending his son Yahushai. This is G3085 Litrosis, and it says ransoming, redeemed, redemption. It says ransoming, redemption, deliverance, especially from the penalty of sin. And the wages of sin are death. You know, sin is a transgression of the law. The law was given to Jacob and to Israel. He didn't show this to any other nation. So, and have raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. Yahushai came from the lineage of King David. As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. And this has been spoken by the holy prophets since the beginning, since Adam, all the way to now. All the way from that time, they were prophesying about a Savior. Our Savior is coming. Now in this time, when Zacharias is prophesying, hey, the Savior is here. He's born. He's here now. And what kingdom was he in? In the fourth kingdom. When you read about it in Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. And you get more insight on it in the first and second Maccabees. But this was the kingdom during Yahushai's time. But again, Yahushai came in, gave himself for a sacrifice, rose from the dead, and now, hey, he's coming back. He left, and he's coming back again to retrieve his elect, to retrieve his followers. So as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies. And who is the enemy? Esau, Edom. He's the number one top enemy. When you read Psalms 83, he's right there, top of the list. And he's in there twice. Edom and Amalek. But and also showing, when I get more scriptures, Lord willing, that he's still here today. Esau, Edom, it's not done away with. He is going to be ruling in the end time. So as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, that's only made with Israel. And the oath which he sware to our father Abraham, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our life. So when Yahushua returns, this is what's going to happen. We're going to be able to serve Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua without fear. We're going to be free from the penalty of sin because we're going to have the laws, statutes, commandments put within us. Our bodies are going to be changed. We're going to be completely new beings. And also showing that the laws are not done away with. You know, Jeremiah 31, it also says the same thing in Hebrews. You know, just reiterating that. But this is what we're waiting for. For our Redeemer to come back. And we're in these times. All that our forefathers, the prophets, everyone have been waiting for is being fulfilled in this time. This is it. This is the end. So this is Matthew 24. You can start up. You know, I like to start at verse 3, but really just getting to the point. It says, let me see. I pretty much read that. But getting to verse 31, Matthew 24 and 31, and he shall send his angels, which is Yahushua when he returns, And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the earth to the other. So this is the elect going to be gathered. You know, this is pretty much saying the same thing that I was reading in Luke, but this is the elect are going to be gathered into that cloud. You know, there's not going to be a rapture or anything like that, a 7-year tribulation. No. The elect are going to be here for this, to go through this tribulation. That's going to try all the earth. Is that Revelation 3? Let me get that real quick. But this is in these times. This is Revelation 3 and verse 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the earth, to try them which dwell upon the earth. And ultimately, it's going to come down to all kinds of trouble. But the major thing that's being preached, that's being prophesied about, is Revelation 13:16, the charagma, the RFID C-hip implant that's going to go in your hand or in your forehead, and that's already out. And it's waiting for whatever major event to happen that will cause everybody to have to no longer use cash, no longer use cards, where they have to get a C-hip. And we go over a Revelation 13:16 all the time, so I'm not really going to mess with it right now, just for time's sake. But this is 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 7. It says, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? So the separation of the times. How do we know that we're in the end of the world? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. And in Genesis, the 25th chapter, it said that the elder shall serve the younger. So if Jacob is the younger brother, because he came out, he's holding on to the heel of Esau. Esau came out first. And these were two separate nations in the womb. Two different kinds of people. For Esau is the end of the world, and for Esau is the beginning of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So, again, showing the struggle for power. But Esau is the end, and it's letting you know the end of the world, the end of the age. This is Esau's age. Matter of fact, if I still had it open. This is Matthew 24 and verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And when you go to that word for world, that's aeon, G165, and it says the world, the universe, a period of time and age. This is what it's referring to. When is the end of this age? And the time period that they were in, the age that they were in, was the Roman Empire. And this is still continued today. The Roman Empire, those were the Edomites. You know, going under a different name. They weren't calling themselves Edomites, even though some were still around. You had Herod the Great. He was an Edomite. You know, and this is all in the scriptures. This is all real people that are also in the scriptures. So, again, for 2nd Ezra 6 and verse 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Esau has to be ruling in the end times. During this time when all these things are happening, showing the end, when Yahushua is returning, you know, this is those times. Esau is ruling in these times. If Yahushua is returning, and you see all the signs of his return, then who would be ruling? Esau. Esau being a cunning hunter, being blessed with the sword. The sword being a military technology, knowledge of weaponry, knowledge of to turn anything into a weapon. Whether it be disease, food, speech, entertainment, turning anything into a weapon. But this is also going into this. This is Psalm 75, and I'll start at verse 6. Psalm 75 and verse 6, for promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. So, again, these nations, if Esau is ruling in the last days, if he's the end of the world, he's going to be ruling in the last days. Someone had to put him in power. It's Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Despite how this devil, acts, he claims to believe in God and whatnot, but he really believes that he put himself in power. Just look at the speech of the Nero. But the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. So if he's putting down one, that means Esau, Edom. If he's at the end of the world ruling, he's about to be put down. And the kingdom of Israel is getting ready to, it's being set up right before your eyes. So this here I had oh, they took off the AI. So here President Trump, apparently some military leaders were saying, here, I'll just read it. It says in March 2026. Now this is all happening at the same time as these celestial events. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai put a spirit or increased this devil, his pride in him. Because he's being set up for a great judgment. The same way Pharaoh was set up. It was at Romans the 9th chapter. It says in March 2026, reports surfaced that multiple U.S. military commanders allegedly told troops that President Donald Trump was anointed by Jesus. I hate saying that shit, but this is what they really believe. And now, they calling on a false idol or whatnot, but it's the Most High that did this. The Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, that has done this, that has set up these events, that put, this base man in the position that he's in. Man can't read. He wore diapers. We got the terrible comb over. This is who he's put, like in children. This is the crooked, perverted man, the son of perdition, in which all of them, that he's put in power. It says, in March 2026, reports surfaced that U.S. military commanders allegedly told troops that President Donald Trump was anointed by Jesus to trigger Armageddon through the ongoing conflict with Iran. Now, this is what the apostles of Great Millstone have been teaching on down, that the U.S. or really all the nations are going to be drawn into the valley of Hawashaphat in Iran. And this is going to trigger World War III. And then from here, from this point on, it's really, downhill. We're waiting for the MOTB, the Revelation 13:16 to happen, because it's not going to fully escalate until, the 13:16 happens. So once Revelation 13:16 happens, this is how we know this is it. This is the last. This is it. This is all. He's only got, hours left, days left. However much time. Because once that happens, we're closer. We're inching closer and closer to the kingdom, and we are closer than we have ever been before. So this devil he's been anointed by Jesus to trigger Armageddon. It says the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, a military watchdog, has received over 200 complaints from service members across all branches regarding this religious rhetoric. Which, hey, if it's over that many, maybe it's more people that didn't file it, maybe people that do believe it, whatever. But this shows that, hey, this happened. It says the anointed claim. Reports indicate that commanders, including an NCO, claim Trump was chosen to start conflict in Iran to initiate Armageddon. Which, hey, these people, especially the hats, they think that they're gonna, from seeing like different things that different leaders say, they think they're gonna piss everybody off. They're gonna piss as many people off as they can. This is why you see them doing what they're doing, bombing countries, putting stuff out there, getting caught, flying back to wherever. They're building up so much hate that everybody's going to turn against them. And they think that by doing wickedness all around the world, they're going to force the Lord's hand to come and defend them. And this is what they think. But in reality, hey, the Lord is coming. The Lord has you fooled. The Lord has you thinking this bugged out stuff in your mind when really, hey, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. But hey, anyway, it says widespread reports that MRFF received complaints from over 40 units across at least 30 military installations. Biblical framing: the strikes around Iran were reportedly justified by commanders as fulfilling God's defined plan, as citing the Book of Revelation, which I believe I have that pulled up because it's there. You're on the wrong side. Because those that Yahushua is coming to protect, they're not going to have, a superpower, meaning a carnal superpower military backing them. The carnal military superpower is going to be wearing out Yahushua's people. So, impact on troops. Service members from various faiths reported that this rhetoric undermines morale and constitutional principles. And this is beautiful because, hey, the morale of these people are low. It's low already. They thought they just joined just to buy a house, to get a Hellcat or a Camaro, whatever like that. Ride the waves, whatever they were going to do. But now finding out you're just going to be cannon fodder. But this is another one. Well, oh, you know what? That's the same thing. I pretty much just read over that. So that's all right. I'm not going to go over that. That's just the same thing, but on Instagram. This is Psalms 50 and verse 16. Because, hey, this nation, it says, in God we trust and all this God stuff. And God, Jesus sent me to do this. Another does. I swore. They're hypocrites. So, and this man has done nothing but prove himself to be the wicked. What is that? Malachi 1 and 4. He's proven himself over and over again to be the wicked. Everything that he does is wickedness. Even if he does good, he can't do it. It's gonna be some kind of wicked thing in that, evil in it. So this is Psalms 50 and verse 16. But unto the wicked the Most High saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth? So, hey, this is what Edomites have done through replacement theology, through their Christianity, through their religions. They've replaced the Israelites with themselves, which is completely against the scriptures, because the scriptures say, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai does not change, and neither does his mercy towards us. So, but unto the wicked the Most High saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth? So they took up the Bible. Like I said, they covered the images. They made all the Son, Yahushai, and the Heavenly Father look like them. Covered up their images, concealed the images, and hid them, hid the names, hid who we are as a people. Seeing thou hatest instruction, and what is the number one thing Christianity how do you say, pushes. One of the major things they push is that the law is done away with. So they took this book, oh, I believe in God and all this stuff, but the law is done away with. You can eat whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. You can marry whoever. You can marry a dog, a cat, a man, a goat, whatever. Change your gender. They've done all this. They didn't tell the Israelites who they were. They say it doesn't matter. What does color matter? No, he came for everybody. So, seeing thou hatest instruction and castest my words behind thee, when thou sawest a thief, then thou consentedest with him, and hast been partaker with adulterers. So, and thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. Everything this devil does is evil and deceit. Whether it be, stealing your money, tricking you off your land, stealing your property, stealing your resources. Hey, this devil is in all of it. So thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thou slanderest thine own mother's son. So hey, this is what Esau Edom has done. Hey, he is completely slandered you blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, the Israelites. Everywhere you go, especially Judah, the so-called Negroes, the blacks, hey, they got a stigma around them, which, hey, a lot of Jake is bugged out. But hey, this devil has done much of this, of how Jake behaves is due to him. These things thou hast done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself, but I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes, who the elect. So you thought, because he even has a thing, what is that? That's the Novus Ordo Seclorum, that's New World Order, but Annuit Coeptus. I believe that he favors our undertakings, or he favors our enterprise. So all this stuff that they done, slaughtering the Israelites, stealing lands, shedding blood, and they thought that the Most High was with them. And the same thing like now. He said, I'm anointed by Jesus. Donald J. Trump is anointed by Jesus Christ himself. But really, hey, the Lord is not with you. He is against you. He is setting you up to this point. Like, what do you think that the Lord is going to do in Armageddon? He's coming to smash you nations like grapes. So that's all from that. This is Proverbs 21 and verse 1. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So the king, the mind of the king, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So, and this man Trump believing this, believing the hype, whatnot. And guess what? That's Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai moving his mind like that, making him think pridefully, making him make the decisions. Yeah, you're gonna bring in World War III. Yeah, and he's thinking it's gonna turn out good. This is another one, because this devil not only is he's proud in action, he's proud in speech, and this really represents all of Babylon.
Now Spain actually said that we can't use their bases, and that's all right. We could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it, but we don't have to. But they were unfriendly, and so I told him we don't want to. Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, but they don't have great leadership. And as you know, they were the only country that in NATO would not agree to go up to 5%. I don't think they would have agreed to go up to anything. They wanted to keep it at 2%, and they don't pay the 2%. So we're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain.
So you see right there, this devil, this proud speech, everything. And if you can't see it, Babylon the Great is a nation or a hegemony that basically bullies the entire world. It controls trade. controls the airspace, controls the waters, controls everything. This is a devil that can't have enough. He is as death, so everything, he has to be in control of everything. And he heard his speech. Look, we ain't like, you're not gonna let us use your base. Guess what? We cutting off trade with you. And matter of fact, we don't even have to ask. Like we asked to use your bases, but really we ain't got to. We could just come up in there, kick our feet up. We ain't gotta ask to come over here. You only paying 2%. You think you somebody? I'm America. Wait, Salakia. This is Daniel chapter, which you can read up then, but this is beautiful because this is the end time. This is the last beast. This is that fourth beast, the fourth kingdom. And as I see right here, it says, matter of fact, I read Daniel chapter 7 and verse 17. These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall rise out of the earth. So you had what was earlier, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Medes, the Greeks, and finally the Roman Empire. And they're described as different beasts. And the Roman Empire is described as being a beast with iron teeth that devoured everything in its path. Now this is how it's described, because it was a ruthless beast that beat all the nations around it into submission, just through the sword. So again, but the saints of the Most High, those are the Israelites. The saints of the Most High. As a matter of fact, if you go back, let me see, I had it in Psalms 50. Where is it? Psalms 50, and I'll jump up, verse 5. It says, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. So who are the saints? These are Israelites. Matter of fact, you don't say it right there. By sacrifice. And I'm kind of running out of time, but Lord willing, this is still being edifying. This is Exodus 24, and I'm going to just get to the point. 24 verse 5, and he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people, and they said, all that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai have said will we do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and these are the Israelites, and said, behold the blood of the covenant which Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai have made with you concerning these words. These are the Israelites. You read this chapter, it's concerning the Israelites. This is who the covenant's for, and this is who's taking the kingdom. So this is Daniel chapter 7 and verse 18 again. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and forever, even forever and ever. So again, eternity. This is how the kingdom of Israel, New Jerusalem, will never fall. This is going to be a forever. How can this kingdom fall if we're going to have the law, statutes, and commandments put within us? If you can no longer sin, if you can no longer be corrupted. And this is in verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others. It was diverse because it had a different government system. It was you had senates, you had Caesars, you had elections, things like that, things that mirror today's time. Who's exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the others which came up, and these are all European states. These are what you would call different. These would be modern day NATO EU countries. But then here it says, and of the others which came up, and before whom 3 fell, that would be the Spanish, the French, and the British. Even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things. So there was a horn that had came up out of those one of those three horns, which was the British, which was America, became America. The 13 colonies that became America. And those other three horns that were here, you had the French that were here, that had territories here, and they fought different wars with, America, and they eventually gave those territories. The same thing with the Spanish and the British. So this is how this land was got here. And it says, and a mouth that spake, and it says, even that of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, and he was very boastful. Like the man here, this is Nero Trump is that the representation, a perfect representation of this speaking very great things, speaking blasphemy, speaking all kinds of, trash, whose look was more stout than his fellows, meaning he was more proud, all that. So this is that fourth kingdom. This is the fourth, that fourth kingdom that was ruling when Yahushua was on the scene. That when I read Matthew 24, this is that same kingdom, and they're back here today. So it is more stout. Look at that. More stout. It says H7229, great, captain, chief. And this place here, Babylon the Great, they put themselves as the chief of all the nations, the highest of the nations. Look at how he's talking. Look, we're not going to trade. You're cut off. You're not trading with you no more. Matter of fact, you don't pay nothing. We don't even have to ask. We had the power. We can do whatever we want. So moving on. This is Daniel chapter 2. And I'll start at verse 21. And this is a statue that Nebuchadnezzar had seen in a dream. And Daniel had told him the dream and the meaning of the dream. And so that head of gold representing Babylon. And then there was a chest of silver. Let me see here. Where is it? It says, after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over the earth. Basically, it's reiterating Daniel 7, the four beasts, but this is in a statue form and different forms of metal, going all the way down to the legs, feet, and the toes. So right now we're in the feet and the toes. So Daniel chapter 2 and verse 40, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, going back to Daniel 7, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these things shall it break in pieces and bruise. So that's the Roman Empire. When it was in Yahushua's time, they were a brutal empire. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, and this is the modern day, where you have NATO and EU countries that both going back into that. You have some countries that are part of NATO, some are part of EU, and vice versa. It says, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. So there are some strong parts in it, like Babylon the Great, has a strong military, which is weakening. But then you have other parts that are weak. Like he's saying, hey, they don't contribute nothing, like Spain. It only contributes 2%. And most of it, matter of fact, but I'll get to it. Verse 42, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. So this is a divided kingdom. You have some parts that are weak militarily, strong economically, but they have soldiers to spare and whatnot. And if you continue reading, it goes into the stone. It goes into Yahushua coming and breaking this statue apart, completely destroying it. But this is I put in here Spain NATO contributions, and it says as of early 2026, Spain has positioned itself as a key, though low spending, NATO ally. So this is a key ally, having reached an agreement to be exempt from the proposed 5% GDP defense spending target, aiming instead for approximately 2.1% of GDP. Despite historically being among the lowest spenders, Spain contributes significantly to troop deployments, hosts NATO infrastructure, and plays a key role in the alliance's southern flank. So they still, they might not contribute, monetarily much, but they give their troops over. They do contribute, but it's just not monetarily. So in the eyes of Babylon the Great, you're weak, whatever. So defense spending following intense negotiations in 2025, Spain secured an exemption from. Okay, I just read that. So Spain supports NATO missions with troops in the Baltic states and elsewhere, and has been active in training Ukrainian soldiers. Infrastructure and role: Spain hosts a combined air operations center and the Rapid Deployment Corps, focused on. Okay. So while underinvesting in defense equipment, Spain highlights its active participation in missions, maritime patrols, and air defense. So they help out a lot, but they just don't contribute much money. So these things they don't. It's mixed. It's it's iron and clay. Spain has faced pressure from the U.S. regarding its low spending, but maintains that its contributions, particularly concerning the southern flank and mission deployments, fulfill its commitment to the alliance. So meanwhile, they're saying, look, we're committed to the alliance, and it's really y'all that aren't committed because everything is about y'all. But let me see here. I had another one because I don't remember his name, but he was saying like Spain, like we don't have nukes. We can't stop, the small hats. We can't stop them from doing whatever they're doing. Roughly paraphrasing, but I just asked if Spain does not have nuclear weapons, and I was hoping it would pull up that quote. But it says Spain does not possess, develop, or host nuclear weapons on its territory. Now, if you have nuclear weapons, guess what? You're pretty strong. Because ain't nobody gonna mess with you. You got nukes. So, by praying, a fact says Spain does not possess, develop, or host nuclear weapons on its territory. A fact recently affirmed by Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez in September 2025, while a NATO member covered by the U.S. nuclear umbrella, Spain has a strong anti-nuclear public stance, supports non-proliferation, and has historically abandoned its nuclear programs. So they apparently don't have, says no national arsenal. Spain does not have nuclear bombs, aircraft carriers, or large oil reserves. NATO umbrella. As NATO member, Spain is covered by the alliance's nuclear deterrence policy. Past, Spain explored a nuclear weapons program in the 1960s and 70s, but discontinued it. So basically, they don't have nuclear weapons, but there's other nations that do. There's other NATO nations that do. This is Joel chapter 3, and this is what's happening. This is what he's talking about when he's talking about Armageddon. This is Joel chapter 3. And I'll start at verse 1. For behold, in those days, and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. Did I not read that in Matthew the 24th chapter? That Yahushua is coming to retrieve the captivity. Judah and Jerusalem. This is Israelites. I will also gather all nations. The nations aren't being gathered into the chariots. They're not going to receive salvation, but I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Yehoshaphat, meaning the valley of Yahweh's judgment. And this is in the Middle East, in Iran. and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel. And that plead, that don't mean, he's not going to beg you on your hands and knees. He says shapat. He's going to judge you, to judge, govern, vindicate, punish, to decide controversy, to execute judgment. So Yahweh Shem Yahushua is bringing these nations together to bring down his judgment for Israel, not for them people already in the land, because what it says in the scriptures, this is Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 4, and he shall, let me see, read. This is Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua's house shall be established in the top of the mountains. So this is the government of Israel, Yashar Allah, being established. This is Yahushua ruling. It shall be established in the top of the mountains, so ruling over all the other nations, all the governments, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it, meaning that these nations are going to be into captivity. And many people shall go and say, come ye and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua from Jerusalem. So now Jerusalem at this point is going to be the hub. Righteousness is going to be going out of it. And all the other nations are going to have to come to Jerusalem to get right. So all the nations are going to be flowing here. They're going to be bringing their goods. All the other nations are going to be in captivity. Verse 4, and he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares. That's not what's happening right now. They're beating their plowshares into swords, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. So this is what's supposed to be happening. Because the small heads say they're back in the land, they're fulfilling prophecy, but there's still war. There's not peace. This is Joel chapter 3. Again, Joel chapter 3 and verse 2. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So this is the Israelites scattered, parted all around the world. The land, given up to the other nations, they ruin it. Esau, Edom wanted to make, plans for our land, putting up casinos and resorts and making it a land of idolatry and wickedness. More than they've already done. But this is what this devil is planning to do. And Lord willing, I'll be right back with the part 2. So, hey, shalom.